Thank you.
I'm going to pull this.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out where I can hide it, where it won't be seen. Will it be seen here?
No, I don't think it will.
That won't be seen, will it?
Yeah, hello. Will that purse going to be? Okay, it's 5 minutes. 5 seconds. Fix your tire. Welcome very, very much to Conversations, where I'm very, 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 very happy to welcome to the set Coley Clark, a dear friend of mine from about 1,000 years back. Time goes by so fast, Coley, you know, but it just seems like it was only yesterday that we were hiding under a bridge somewhere or something.
In Mississippi, yes.
Yeah, down Mississippi.
Well, remember we were in Libya.
Yeah, that's
hiding
right.
out and your favorite place, hiding out with Gaddafi. So
I did. I had a great
long journey.
I had a great.
That's about 8,000 years.
Gaddafi had a really large following from a lot of the people that are being oppressed by the overall system. You know,
he had most of Africa with him because Gaddafi was for a gold standard.
Yeah, right.
And Gaddafi was for putting up satellites. That was Africa satellites.
We were together in Libya?
No, we were not together in Libya. But you were there many years before I got there. But I did get there, and I felt your presence when I was there.
Yeah.
Yes, I
did. Oh, okay.
I was there for his last round.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, his last hour, I was in Libya.
Well, I was with him very, very early.
On, yeah.
He had only just about made the revolution, you know, when I did the thing. So it was, and when I got the program with him, man, it was really a big time mystery because everybody was interested in him. He was the most interesting man in the world.
Powerful and beautiful man.
Time.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Ingenious man. I just. It hurt my heart. I can still see Hillary Clinton jumping up and down, and I'm just angry with that woman forever. You know, not only was it the destruction of Gaddafi, but Harold, it was the re-invasion of Africa.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
and it hadn't stopped to this hour. You know, he said, "What's going on?"
Yeah, it was. It was Africa. Well, at the time when he took over, it was the literacy rate in Libya was about 3%.
Yes.
Everybody was illiterate and so forth, and within about...
And everybody was poor.
Everybody was poor. There was just about the poorest people in the world.
That's right.
At the time when he did it. I don't think they knew until just very before he took power that they had these vast fields of petroleum.
Yes.
They became one of the richest people in the world, like almost overnight.
That's right.
They had been like natives or something, you know, in terms of out in the desert. They were going on camels across the desert.
That's
and whatnot.
beautiful too. The
and
camels.
They had that, and it was with only about 3 decades. They went from about 4% literacy. That's a measure. And only men. You know, it was all very that way and everything. And within only about 3 decades, and they went to 93% literacy. Men, women, and children, and everybody became literate. They were all educated like that. So
all educated, all with a right to health care.
Right.
All with a right to an education, health care. Just go to name it. And if you got married, you know. There's a pre-plan to give you X amount of dollars to make sure that you had housing.
He was progressive beyond belief.
Very progressive.
Yeah, and he was respected around the world for that, don't you think, by a lot of people
I think that people who are allowed to respect, or who dare respect, still respect his legacy.
That division is still there. You dare not ever try to respect something other than the leading leader of the moment in so many parts of the world, even to this time. And we had it in this country. A lot of that they had down south.
Yes.
Mass.
Well, I'm from down south, Harold.
Yeah, I know. We got to talk about that. Hiding.
Then I came up south, and I.
You got the same old.
Same old. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Not quite as bad though. I must say, up south there was breathing room up in Chicago.
Yeah. It was a different thing. It was starting to move, and now it's going even quicker. But you used to have. You came from down south. Didn't you?
Deep south.
Down south. You were there. You were under.
I'm from Mississippi.
You were hiding under a bridge with Stokely Carmichael, if I'm not mistaken.
Liberty, Mississippi, of all places.
Yeah. Talk about it. You were here. The crackers were up on top of the bridge. And
it was a really very interesting day because, you know, the Civil Rights Commission was set up, 1955, and
Yeah.
the U.S. Civil Rights Commission was set up, you know, but it had no powers.
Yeah.
But it did do lots of research.
Yeah.
And so they had a band up there,
Uh-huh.
and they had this, I guess, pieces of cloth.
Yeah.
They called themselves a head over the window, thinking that they were hidden.
Uh-huh.
So that was kind of funny. Now, what happened that day is that Bob Moses, we were down
Yeah,
in Liberty,
yeah.
Mississippi,
Okay.
where Herbert Lee was killed,
Uh-huh.
you know, by a member of the Mississippi
And that's
shotgun.
deep south. isn't it?
Yeah, deep south.
Yeah, deep
Shotgun to death by a member of the Mississippi State Legislature. And so we've been down there with Herbert Lee and the Petways who live right near him and those people. And we decided we would bring up to Liberty a group of people to try and register to vote, knowing that we would not see a registrar. The routine was you bring in a group of people to register to vote, and they would tell you the registrar wasn't in town. He was out.
This before Selma and everything.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
before Selma, yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, this is en route. This is get you prepared for Selma.
Yes, getting prepared for Selma. Selma
So-
was a great
yeah,
big
so
thing. Yeah.
so we're there with them, and Bob is in a car, and Bob decided that some of us need to be in different places. Stokely was coming up, Stokely Carmichael,
Yeah.
now AHT2, excuse me,
You were
Kwame
close with
Ture.
Stokely, weren't
Yeah.
you? I mean,
He-
you huddled together with him under bridges and stuff like
No,
that.
no, he wasn't under the bridge. Stokely
No,
was
but-
coming in. I was huddled under there with Attorney Timothy Jenkins.
Yeah.
But our job was to be able to observe from that location. There were other people observing from cars,
Uh-huh.
and then Stokely was coming in with Elix Green. They're all going to glory now.
You talking Selma now? or
I'm
no?
talking Liberty, Mississippi.
Liberty. Okay, that's pre-Selma.
Pre-Selma.
Okay.
The stuff that everybody writes out of history, because you don't hear
Yeah.
much about Stokely's early days. It's kind of like people
Well,
were
he was-
scared,
he
and,
was
and,
from down-
and this
he
is
was
from
South
within.
America.
This
He
was
was
from the internal civil rights movement.
Yeah, right.
He's you know
He was from South America.
yeah, you know, he's a
again.
Jamaican. You
Yeah,
know,
you're Jamaican.
Yeah, he's Stokely,
But
wherever he's from.
Yeah.
But the fact that this very brilliant young man is coming in with another very brilliant young man who was from Greenwood, Mississippi,
Who was
and
that?
they came into Elix Green.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And
yeah.
he's gone to glory.
Yeah,
and all these
yeah,
brothers and
yeah,
sisters,
yeah.
you know, you
Everybody's
don't live
going to
forever,
glory, yeah.
unfortunately. They were beautiful
Yeah,
people.
I hear you.
But this was the day when you wore something called Bermuda shorts.
Oh yeah. Do
The
they
rest
still
of
have
us are dressed in
Bermuda
normal
shorts?
clothes, and
Do
here
they-
comes
do-
Stokely in his Bermuda shorts with these tall English socks.
Uh-huh. Here was a picture, huh?
Yeah.
Now, are you personally there? Are you talking?
Yeah, I'm under the bridge.
So what is that the first time you met him? Or you
Oh
had-
no, I
you
met
had a lot
Stokely
of time?
much
You'd
earlier.
raised a lot
Stokely
of
came
hell
in.
before that.
Stokely came in with the Freedom Rides.
You were one of the very first people to be associated with Stokely. It seems to me.
I
you
don't
were
know
right
that
at
I'm among the
beginning.
very first, but I know him since '61.
Yeah. Okay,
This
yeah.
We under that bridge.
He had a
It's
great-
'62.
He had a great sense of humor.
Oh, he always
Oh,
had
he
a
was
sense
so
of humor.
funny,
Stokely was
yeah.
a remarkable man.
Yeah.
But the thing that was so funny was they arrest the they did arrest, they harassed the unsuspecting Human Rights Commission who thought they were hidden behind those curtains in the van. Not knowing that Mississippi,
Yeah.
when you cross through those cotton curtains coming
Yeah.
through the Mississippi, ain't
Yeah.
nothing hidden.
Yeah.
So they started with them, and then they, of course, began to move on the rest of us.
Right.
They did not move on Timothy Jenkins and I under the bridge. We were
Under
very
the
fortunate. Yeah, they didn't come under the bridge, thank God. We'd had to get in that creek.
were they actually people above and on the bridge and soldiers marching with boots and stuff like
The
that?
other people
Or-
were going in to try to get registered to vote. Bob had cars. He had a goodly number. I can't remember the number, probably 11 or 12 people, maybe more, that we brought up in cars to go try and register to vote. Now, the interesting thing about most southern towns is that you'll notice that the courthouse, City Hall usually sits in a square, right in the center of the square. So we got to get in the
Okay.
center of the square to get into the courthouse to get people
That's from
to try to get people registered to vote.
That's from way
So
back. Yeah.
it was quite a day because
Yeah.
obviously they said there was nobody there to register anybody. Meanwhile, Stokely is coming in thinking that I think he thought that he could just walk in town
Yeah.
and not be noticed. He wasn't bothering
Was
anybody. They
he
were just
innocent?
walking in
Yeah,
town.
but he must have known.
No, I
You
don't
mean-
think he.
He
I
was-
think-
It's sometimes innocence can get you into real trouble.
It
but
got
at
him
the
into
same
real
time-
trouble.
But it's also got
It got him run out of town.
It's got a quality that is also part of a really upfront and confronting the system kind of thing that makes possible that kind of behavior if you've got that quality to your thinking as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah, when they began to arrest
you
it.
have a pair in order to get out in front.
Yeah, they just ran Stokely and Enoch Green on back out of town.
In
So
Bermuda shorts.
yeah, in Bermuda
the
shorts
South.
in the South,
You got to
in
have a
the
pair.
red hot heat of
Yeah.
July. So
Yeah.
that ended that. But now Selma, on the other hand, I went to Selma
We got some up
in
on
February
the- yeah.
'63.
That was a major event. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
this was
Selma was
we-
really.
Well, we didn't think we were going to live.
Yeah. Right.
The previous
seriously,
SNCC person had said it was too rough, and Dr. King them wouldn't come to stay. They would come in and speak and leave.
Yeah.
They would do people to people tours,
Yeah.
Dr. King was, and they would
Yeah.
leave. So
Yeah, God
they was
bless
doing
him.
that kind of thing. But we were in now to begin to do the organization at the invite of the Dallas County Voters League
Okay, good
and
for
Mrs.
you.
Bourne, Mrs. Amelia Boynton.
That was dangerous work, dangerous position to take in that part
Well,
of
let
the
me
world.
put it this way. We arrived at Selma by bus coming in from Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
Um,
What was the
around-
attitude? What was the
around,
attitude on-
9:45.
What was the attitude on that bus?
Very nice people. Then people just on
Were
the
they
bus.
singing songs and stuff?
No,
and
this
all
was
that?
not
They
a
were-
Freedom Ride bus.
they
This
were-
was a normal, regular passenger Greyhound.
Did you ever get on one of those freedom riding buses
No,
and everything?
no, no,
That
no,
was pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, most people were on there were scary. And those are some
Yeah,
scary
yeah.
tales. We'll talk
The whole-
about
the
that
whole,
at some
the
point.
whole thing was scary to go. And okay, but go ahead.
But we came in a regular
Bus.
bus.
Yeah.
We got off at Selma,
Uh-huh.
and then I used to know the exact hours when we got in. I think it was around 9:45. But anyway, we get off and we get 15-minute taxi ride to Selma Motel, to the motel, Torch Motel
okay,
at Selma.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We get in, and I'm packing our stuff, and then there's a knock at the door.
Uh-oh. Okay.
And so,
Knock,
you know,
knock,
we
knock.
figure, well, there's going to be a fight or a run. We can't run. We're in this little room.
Yeah.
They had one way out here.
So what happened? What was it? What was the?
There
what was the
stood,
vibe?
there stood the United States Justice Department, two representatives.
And what were they there for?
Vossa Strom was one, and Sather was the other. And they informed us that they were there to ask
protect-
us to leave,
Oh, really? Leave the premises.
to
where
leave
you were?
Selma.
On that right there.
Right
at
then
the
and there,
moment.
wanted to get us
Did they
out
give
because
any
they heard we were going to be killed.
Oh, they wanted to protect you for your own protection.
What a
Okay.
joke.
So they
So
said, that's it. That's
they
a
thought,
rude-
I don't
that's
know,
a
they
rude-
must have thought we were scaredy pies. So
Yeah.
we said, no, we're not leaving.
Good
Bernard
for
was
you.
real clear.
Was
Say,
that hard to do? Or
no,
you
well,
stand
it's
up
just
to
very
it?
easy. Bernard just said, we ain't going nowhere. We just got in. We
And,
unpacking.
and the vibe was such that you could get away with that without dogs and whatever coming on to you.
Well, they tried
You
to
know.
scare us
They
that there
can
was
get
somebody
really
waiting
nasty.
to kill us, you know,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing. They didn't
right.
say kill,
Yeah.
just that, it was dangerous and they wanted us to
Well,
leave.
that could be a prelude to
Well,
what's
that
coming.
when we refused to leave and just
Yeah.
made real plain, we're here. We just got in.
Yeah.
We're unpacking.
You're tired.
Come on in.
Yeah.
We got one seat here because we
Yeah.
got one little chair in the room.
Yeah.
Get yourself a seat.
Mm.
So they came in. They stood up. They did not get a seat. And both of them were fairly. They weren't that tall, but fairly tall men.
Uh-huh.
So they stood up. And then they began to really try to scare us by telling us, that these things that were going to happen to
Well,
us.
yes, I mean that. No,
And-
the vibe and everything. Well, go ahead. Yeah.
And so Bernard's response was, hey, man, look, if you know that that's going to happen to us,
Yeah.
go arrest them.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Then they
But
said,
were
well,
you
no,
being-
we're the Justice Department. We're not the police.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the
yeah,
hell are you doing here?
But that was baloney on their part or something. It was all
No,
part
they
of
were
an
just they were playing
I'm
this
trying to get
the
a feel-
game. The game from the United
Yeah.
States Justice
Yeah,
Department
Please. Yes. Right.
was to get us out of town. What they really
Right.
was
what
protecting
they
is that,
do,
and it came through once they began to talk. The U.S. Justice Department had filed a suit for the right to vote at Selma, Alabama, at Mobile, Alabama, in 1961.
Wow. All right.
And so we were there threatening their lawsuit. They were worried about their lawsuit. Remember when Kennedy, you probably have forgotten, but when Kennedy came to power, he appointed 3 federal judges.
I don't remember who. they
Thurgood
were.
Marshall
Oh,
is the
yeah.
first black one.
Wow. Really great.
But he appointed a more liberal judge for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals out of Texas, and then he appointed a judge out of Alabama, Thompson, I think
So
his
what
name
that
was.
all add up to?
which meant that they're now trying to protect their turf they've set up for this voting rights piece, and they want to be able to pull this off.
And there was the thing was being prepared for the big march, or is that a
no, it wasn't for the marches at all. This is the field work, the day-to-day.
This leading
work.
up to the big march.
The big march is coming.
Yeah.
In fact, it's the same year as the big march,
Yeah.
but.
Were you involved in that?
No, but neither Bernard or I. No, we're going to a big old march. We got a lot of people there, but we weren't there.
There was a bridge. Sometime we had a bridge, Petty, some sort.
No, that's later. That's 65. I'm in 63.
Okay.
And that's what we're doing now. The new book that's coming out right now.
Uh-huh.
I think it's The Head of the Spear.
Uh-huh.
Coming out by attorney Charles Bonner.
I don't know.
So he's a biographer. He was the first student to come to us
Uh-huh.
when we arrived, along with two other
Right.
male students.
Yeah. It was dangerous.
Young people.
It was dangerous for those students to take that position, wasn't it?
They were
I just
dangerous,
see
but
the whole
those young
thing-
people at Selma
Yeah.
were on target. I love them with such a passion because they were ready to study
Yeah.
and learn and practice and do whatever they had to do.
And march.
And
And they had to go over that bridge. That was a really.
now that bridge is ahead. It's still
Yeah.
2 years ahead.
Yeah, but the
They weren't
vibe,
re-
the vibe is still there.
Yeah, the Bible is still
Yeah.
there because they
The vibe,
organized
yeah,
the base and they
yeah.
haven't did a film that did not give them any credit.
Yeah.
These kids are there 2 years before you're talking about a film.
Yeah.
They're here. They have organized the students of Selma, Alabama.
Yeah.
They have organized black communities in Selma, Alabama.
Yeah.
Bravest young people you ever would want to
Absolutely.
meet. The beautiful young people.
And hadn't a lot of stuff happened down south with sitting at a soda fountain and things like that, and people coming down from up north and everything, even
Coming
white
from
people.
all from every which way.
It was really building up to where.
But the greatest number would be from the north. The northern whites would be the greatest number of people that
I
are
got
coming
a friend
south.
of mine who went to that, sat at the counter and everything like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was really scary. Yeah.
Yeah, folks were scared. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
Well, why? You got big old dogs and whatnot, and they
Nah, I
got.
didn't like no dogs.
And you
but
got this overriding stupid kind of thing that was part of the whole much of the population around where you were trying to get something done.
well, one of the good things about remember
scary.
most people don't talk about the
Stupid.
movement in the South is organized by black women and youth.
Good God bless you.
And
all.
black mama don't care nothing about your dog.
Yeah.
She ain't scared of your gun.
Yeah, but
Just
that-
not scared. We organize young people.
with
and-
that attitude. Really?
Yeah, with young,
That's
yeah,
a pretty
blacks-
brave attitude.
Well, you
to
got to
carry
have
in
a
the
brave
face of
attitude
dogs
when
and
you have
whatnot.
spent a couple of 100 years. We know these people.
Yeah. Okay.
We have
Yeah.
worked in their kitchens. We
Right.
worked in their fields and
Right.
gardens.
Right.
We know in their laundries. My mother would never work in the field. She
But
worked in
did
laundry.
you know any of their vulnerabilities they were susceptible
We
to?
know their
maybe?
vulnerabilities. We know exactly what this
And they think they-
and their capabilities.
And they were in a major way vulnerable to the new realities that were shaping up in that.
well, they became vulnerable to that. I don't think that they thought that we could pull it off.
Because a vulnerable dog can be worse than a dog that's all passive.
Oh, I love
You know what I
Jackson,
mean?
Mississippi.
Yeah.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Mississippi. They got these dogs, and what the young people did, the young people figured out right away
Yeah.
how to get rid of them.
Uh-huh.
So the young people would bother the police police would chase them. Young people would just go jump in the creek, right? Dog was going to jump
Schrainer
behind.
and that, has that happened already?
Dog didn't make it, huh?
The Schrainer, the three young men that were killed.
Goodwin, Schreiner, and Cheney.
Yeah, had that happened yet or not in the time you're talking about?
No, it hadn't happened yet.
That was okay.
They're coming in.
Okay.
They'll be in Mississippi the next year, 64.
Well, that's more or less the same time frame.
It's the same, but it's a year apart. It's
Yeah, okay, yeah,
These,
right,
these,
sure.
these are really long time
Right,
periods in terms of
yeah.
the living span.
Yeah, particularly I
of
bet
the
it was
kind
a
of
long
work
time.
that.
I wonder if it was a long time thing to put up with some of the baloney you had to put up with from the local authorities, and you didn't know for sure what you were going to be confronted. There was a lot of
They
gutsy,
didn't either.
There was a lot of gutsy people who were taking part in that.
Yeah, that's
whole
right.
thing.
That's what
And
I'm
it
trying to
was-
get
you
at.
had
Is
to
that
be gutsy to
you
do
you
it.
you,
yeah.
you you made up your mind. You
Yeah.
had your nonviolence training.
Yeah, yeah.
Just try to stay away from violence because
Right.
that's what they want.
Yeah,
They want
right,
violence.
Right,
So so they had nothing to react to. They've got to
Right.
they got to bring their violence
right.
because that's the only way violence is going to
Well,
get
that's,
here.
that's the most dangerous thing. In a
Yeah, but
certain
they're
sense,
bringing their
people-
violence, but the
Yeah.
press is there. Stories are being told,
the
so they're
press-
being captured
Yeah.
doing their madness.
Mhm.
They never figured that out.
Were the cameras coming out yet and having an effect? When did the cameras start having an effect? Both still cameras and even film and so forth, and the media at large.
I think from the
when did
start,
that start
because
having an effect?
once I think when we're going back to 60
Yeah.
and the sit-in movements,
Uh-huh.
we noticed that the press moved in immediately. All of the press moved in, including international press.
Yeah, that's right.
So we got all this press moving in from various places. And so you come to a place like Selma.
Yeah, Selma.
The press is there.
Yeah.
The local press, which tends to be very conservative.
Okay.
But the national press is there for a story.
Let me get
These men are there to build, and women are there to build their careers.
Yeah, to careers.
So anytime
these are like
I'm being honest now. I'm talking now from looking back. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't think of this way when I was young.
Yeah.
You know, I got to build my career, and you a clown. You gonna come out and jump on these people?
Yeah.
My camera's up.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna write my story.
Yeah,
the world is gonna see my story.
Yeah, lunch counters and
Same thing. The world is gonna see my story. The story of the lunch counter.
And there was that attitude.
And what you do to people in Mississippi, or Alabama, or Georgia, or Texas, or wherever.
Did that require a big shift that happened all at once? That the thing just took a certain turn as a whole movement, like it was a, it's hard to know how we got from where we had been, hiding under bridges and whatnot, to where they were actually standing up and making jokes and having fun and even getting into humor.
We were doing that before we got under the bridge.
Weren't there 2 marches at Selma or something, or am I off base on that?
Now, the young people early on, they're not really marches. They began sit-ins at Selma.
That's right.
And because of the way in which the local authorities, because Jim Clark was now introduced to the movement. When we came in, we were dealing with Chief Mullen. Chief Mullen was the chief of police for Dallas, for Selma, Alabama.
For Selma, right.
And once there were signs that we were talking about moving to the next level, and we were going to be having mass meetings with Reverend Lewis Lord Anderson, whose names you don't hear.
No, I don't know that. Yeah.
He is a man for Selma, because it's around Lewis Lord Anderson's issues. He came into Selma from the National Baptist Convention, Chicago base. He came
now.
And he came down here to take over the founding church for the National Baptist Convention. So the church was a man named Jemison at Selma, Alabama.
That was really important. I'm not that aware.
Yeah, that's right.
I was more aware of only the major things like the march and so on.
Right, but we have to go back. No, because they have purposely written this man out of history.
Really? Okay.
This is a man that is the impetus, the spark that gets things started.
Wow, wonderful.
When we got there, of course, we started working with everybody we could find, but he was open. Come on over, let's get it on. He's ready to use his base. I could use Bernard took care of the adult community and businesses and stuff, and churches. My job was to work with youth.
Well, what about if you're talking about a certain time in history and so forth, where you're going to come and you're going to try and stand up to the system that was had been in place for so long, and you're getting it up, as you say, and you're coming on strong and so forth, in mass, because there must be something that makes a change like that kind of thing, as monumental as that is, begin to happen and then become real.
Mr. Lewis Lord Anderson taking us to the neighboring county, Wilcox County. He takes us over there to the small town in Wilcox County, and from there we're going to go 60 miles through 60 miles of cypress swamp. To a place that was referred to generally as Gee's Bend, Alabama.
Yeah, okay, but you got a lot of ignorant people who are very, very all head up in a direction that would like to just do you all in if they could and everything.
Yeah,
like
but
this stupid prejudice.
But where we're going, we got another story, Harold, because the South is a very complex place.
I guess
it was said that people did not get free from slavery in Gee's Bend until 1928.
Well, now you're going.
One of the things, that's when Petway, the last owner of the plantation, died.
Yeah.
And at his death, there was nobody to oversee them.
Where was that?
Gee's Bend, Alabama.
Alabama.
You got to go through 60 miles of cypress swamp. You can't see beyond the hood of your car.
That's
because it's just that dark. So I understood James Weldon Johnson's portrait when he says, like the 100 Midnights down in the cypress swamp. Well, we were in James Weldon Johnson's 100 Midnight in that cypress swamp.
What was that bridge you hit under with Stokely?
That was at Liberty, Mississippi.
That was way back before all of that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was before I got to Alabama.
Yeah, that was. And were you doing that with a sense of good humor? and funny, or was
No,
there
it wasn't funny, Hal.
No,
It
no,
was.
that's what I'm trying to say.
We were very.
You were a pioneer.
We were very, as a matter of fact,
Yeah.
cautious. I
Yeah.
wasn't scared. I was cautious. Because we didn't know, we
an
didn't know which way we were
important
gonna have to run or
Yeah,
swim.
right,
You know,
right,
something
right,
was gonna
right.
happen.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to the Selma though, because
Okay.
if we come back here now with Reverend Lewis Lloyd Anderson,
Yeah.
he takes us to first a little small town that had relatives up here with the people in the swamp. So we come up here in the swamp where people, and it's a story. Let me tell this story, Hal.
Please do. Please do. Please do.
The story goes that in 28, when Petway dies, they had no resources, so they spoke really some form of some African language, and really don't know what.
Yeah. Yeah.
They lived in thatched hut houses. They actually, if you go there, the pictures
down
we had
south,
pictures.
right?
This is
Yeah.
down south.
Yeah.
It was just like being back in the
Yeah.
motherland.
Yeah.
Out in the center space there, they had cleared it out.
Yeah.
They had this pot, and this is where
A
they
pot.
Yeah, big black pot. You
Yeah,
know,
big
big
black-
old back round pot.
What was in that pot?
That's where they cooked.
They cook- yeah.
If they had
What-
other things
what
to do.
What would be the fare that they'd be cooking? Were you doing beans, or what was the?
I don't know
steak?
what they
You
cooked
don't
there.
remember that? Maybe
Oh,
it's not
but it would have to
important.
be local vegetables.
Local. Yeah.
But they were
Okay.
very
Okay,
adept at being
sorry.
able to also do herbs and roots or whatever was around. But they were trapped up in here. And apparently the Alabama Coosa River was on the other side. So
Yeah.
on one side is the swamp,
Yeah.
and the other side is the Alabama Coosa River.
Oh God.
So the story is that the young girls used to come down to the river to wash,
Yeah. Right.
and I guess wash up too.
Yeah. Right.
And
right,
so
right,
one
right.
day they're down at the river, and these young men
Oh
from
boy.
Ohio
Oh, boy.
State
What?
University on the other side of the river, white young men,
Yes.
saw these pretty gals down there. So
Yeah.
like, what's
Huh?
going on?
Yeah, it's not the first time that's happened in the history of the world.
so,
but yeah.
so they decided they would get to the girls, and so they did, and they took them to Ohio State.
Oh really?
And-
Under force.
Yes, had to be
Oh
forced.
boy. Yeah.
And they got them there. The young girls did speak quite the same English
Right,
as anybody
right,
else
right,
spoke.
right, right, right.
And they're trying to figure out what's going on. So what they concluded was that these people were trapped, isolated
Yeah.
from the rest of the world.
Right. Right. Well, hey, they come.
And they brought in a group.
They
and
come from the motherland.
by the time they got through, they
Yeah.
came from the motherland, but
Yeah.
by the time they got through, the federal government is moving in because once
Yeah.
Ohio State can't be involved with these two children.
When did the three young men get killed? Schwerner and that.
That was 1964.
Now
That's another year.
Another year.
Yeah, we
but
gotta
it's in
get
that
there.
Time frame.
The same
Okay,
time frame.
Yeah, right.
So these young girls, Ohio State gets the feds involved, and the federal government is informed, that these people don't have thatched roof houses. They live in
yeah.
off the land. They have one. They had was it a bull or an ox? They had an ox, but the ox died, so they're now plowing each other, and that was why it was called. They pull the plow.
They pulled the people.
Yeah,
pulled
people
the
pull the plow, and that was
How
why
the
it was
hell
called
could people
G's
pull a
Bend.
plow?
They pulled it just like the.
Did they have 100 people, or how do you?
No, I don't know how many they had. But these are very strong people. I mean, you want to see some of the prettiest people, some of the prettiest bodies outside of the Cherokee Nation. Cherokee Nation got them pretty black folk.
They were buff, huh?
Yeah,
They were buff,
them too. They're just
right.
beautiful. But they were rural people.
Yeah, right.
They were in a
I
rural lifestyle, so the
understand, I
federal government
understand.
comes in,
Yeah.
builds housing, gives them 40 years to pay for it,
Yeah.
make sure there's plumbing and sewage, and even a little church. I think it's Mennonites that
Were
move
they
in there
trying
with
to
them.
say a co-optive movement? Was
They
that
were
the
trying
word?
to. They were
They were
trying to
trying to
keep the
co-opt.
from being embarrassed before the world
Uh-huh.
that they obviously had some black people fresh out of slavery.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right?
Good,
So
good
they
for
come in
them.
and do all
Yeah,
these things,
Yeah.
and then gave them 40 years to pay for it. Well, you
Yeah.
know what? The people don't think about this.
Mm.
So this is an education for these folk. They're very brilliant folk.
Mhm.
They're Petways.
Mm.
They
Petway,
operate
yeah,
under the
yeah.
name Petway,
Yeah.
because that was a slave owner's last name, or the owner
Oh.
of the plantation's last
Good
name.
God, what is
Since
this?
everybody's trying to change the story now.
Yeah.
We had pictures of those days. Tuskegee had pictures from those days.
Yeah.
Just like it had pictures with the syphilis piece.
Yeah.
But now everything. America has a habit of rewriting stories in a way so that they are nice and pleasant and chewable.
I've noticed.
You
they
know,
try,
so.
yeah.
But this is really not a chewable story. But these are great people,
Uh-huh.
brilliant people. Any kind of a quilt, just go to because they had basic knowledge that we have
Right.
lost, skills that we have
We
lost.
could learn from them, huh?
But they also knew how to protect themselves, and you didn't come up in here if you were white.
Now, could the world at large gain still relevance in terms of the confrontations of the world and everything from people, simple people?
Yeah, I think that simple
could be
people
a
are going to have to
guide
lead the world.
To the fast-moving hustlers.
Well, we had
call
better get back
themselves
to that
leaders now.
kind of urban. We've come into this urban madness that we
Yeah.
in. We
Right.
got to get back to that rural experience. Mother
You
Nature's
think so,
running.
yeah?
Mother Nature's running us back,
Yeah,
whether we
yeah.
want to go back or not.
Yeah.
Mama Nature said, "I've had my fill."
On a world scale, you think?
Yeah, I think on the world scale
Yeah.
that there will be less urban and far more rural.
Rural.
if we plan to
That's
survive.
interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
So these people are just an example of the great survivors of the Western world who've been surviving here for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But they come and they bring with them all of their skills and knowledge from Africa across years, because this is not just some group that just arrived. They've obviously been here for quite some time.
Yeah.
When we get there.
Decades.
Yeah, and
did you ever find out how did they get there?
they were slaves.
They were slaves.
Yeah,
Slaves.
yeah, slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of them thought they were slaves until 28, though I notice now the story's changed. I go back to see how the story's changed with time.
Yeah.
But the Petways were very ingenious and brilliant people. And
Are
they
they
had
still
this
around?
moment. Yeah, they're still there. G's Bend is still there.
Yeah.
Well, it's a new world now.
Yeah.
I think they finally did build the Alabama Coosa Dam,
Okay. I'm
On
not
the
fam-
Alabama
I'm not even
Coosa River,
familiar, Yeah.
which
Okay.
was the other side where the boys came and saw the girls.
No. Well, that's
But the
been
federal
going on
government
for a
moves
long
in, gives them a time to pay for it to 40 years.
Yeah.
And then the ugly part of it, they knowing that these people didn't have any background, they came and put in washing machines and dryers. Imagine that
That's
in the
really
40s when the average person nowhere.
Did anybody document what was going
Oh,
on?
yes, it's been well
Sociologically,
documented.
There should
It's
have
been
been
well
covered
documented.
with sociology.
And I'm sure
trying to
Tuskegee
figure
must
it
have a
out.
full story on
Tuskegee, yeah.
I'm sure it has a full story
Yeah.
of what he wants to present.
Yeah.
But what happens here is that the people would put their wood chips into the washing machines and dryers. You know, they use it for something. They use it for other things. Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't use it for fire. They just put it in there for you.
Put someplace to put it.
Take it
yeah.
out when you need it.
Better than an old bucket.
for it.
Yeah.
But G's Bend was there. This is so Reverend Lewis Lord Anderson, knowledgeable of the small town
Yeah.
in Wilcox County,
Yeah.
and that they had this connection. So he takes us first to the small town, and from there to back up here to G's Bend. But these will be the first people to go down to register to vote with us. Not Selma,
With you.
not
Okay,
Dallas
not
County,
No.
Wilcox County, where
Okay.
we have Sheriff Lumini Jenkins, who's one of the worst thugs the South has ever known.
Is that right? That's really
He made
saying
Jim
something.
Clark over in
Bill
Selma
Wurst.
look like a chicken,
Yeah.
but he wasn't going up in G's Bend.
Yeah.
He's not crazy.
He's not going.
So if he
what?
was
I'm
going,
sorry, I couldn't hear you what you said.
wasn't not going up in G's Bend. He did not want to
In
lose.
G's Bend, to this area.
No, he wasn't went up in there.
No.
So that what whites would do when they had black people who would fight back, they would get a black to go in and tell them that you want to see them or whatever. So if Lumley Jenkins was going to have any relationship with G's Bend,
Yeah.
it was getting somebody
With
to go in.
Jesus,
G's, like G-E-E, like a G,
G man.
like you're with the horse, G. Whoa.
Not like a G man with the FBI or something. No. You're way
No, this
ahead
is
of me. You're
this
way
is the
ahead of
other
me
G.
with
This
the-
is the plow when you plow on the horse G.
Oh, I never did.
Oh,
plow
you tell
a
your
horse
mule
ever.
mule
I would
G.
not know what to do.
You want him to hold up.
Yeah.
So what happens is that we have this story. This man, Lewis Lord Anderson, once they discovered that he was working with us, the county of Dallas,
yeah.
city of Selma,
Uh-huh.
where Lewis Anderson had a car accident with Carter Drugstore employee. He was in his car, and the other person was in their car, but it was a serious accident. They were both seriously injured at the point of death, really, just really, really banged up. I think the other man was killed in Carter, from the Carter
Have
Drugstore.
you written have you written any of this down? Have you written it down? Have you got a written record?
No, but it will be.
Are you in the work of trying to put it
Yeah,
down?
I'm now beginning to think about writing and putting stuff down.
Boy, yeah, okay.
But I'm not starting with G's Bend and Selma. I'm
Did you
starting
ever hear,
with.
did you ever
I have
hear,
a very fascinating early life,
yeah,
Harold.
I know. Well, I know that.
I was born in a little Dutch house. It had
Yeah.
3 rooms.
Okay, yeah.
I was
I was
child
born-
number 6.
Uh-huh. That's, yeah.
So when they lost a child, so when I come, child
Yeah.
number 6, first
Yeah.
female,
Yeah?
I have 4 brothers to share this
Two
little
big
to
brothers.
share this little room
Did
with.
they take care of you okay?
Oh, my brothers
They-
took care of me always. Oh, my older brothers, oh my God, they were
No
phenomenal.
wonder you grew up to be such a lady. Really. A lady in the best sense
They
of the word.
taught me
yeah.
to be the worst tomboy. My sister,
You were a tomboy.
my sister, oh, we could.
Boy,
you
you
better
are,
be.
Well,
you growing
okay,
up with
listen, I'm gonna move
you
a
growing
little
up with boys. You
I'm
better
gonna
learn
do
to
a
throw
little-
some punches and
I'm
do some
not,
kicking.
You know,
But
yeah, right.
but they didn't jump on us. They just
Mhm.
taught us to be
Yeah,
tough, how to
yeah.
protect ourselves.
And you had good, that's really good. You had a good association with your brothers.
Oh,
Or your son-
excellent
yeah.
associate. They all going to glory,
That's
but I loved
important,
all
isn't
of
it?
them.
The family setting like
Oh,
that.
my
you know?
family setting was excellent because
Yeah.
after me will come a sister and 4 more brothers. So
That's a big family. That's
yeah, 8 boys and 2 girls. So you know.
And was that all down on one farm or one place or one
Now this
location?
is not in the same space now.
Yeah, and it's also
My
a
parent had
different
their
time.
first 3 children at Raymond, Mississippi. That's the
Uh-huh.
first 3 boys.
Yeah.
Then they had 1 boy,
Mississippi.
followed by 2 girls
Mm.
at what was called Dry Grove, Mississippi. But the name by the time we got there was Learned, Mississippi.
What's the difference?
Well,
signify?
Learned, Mississippi, is all right, these areas are right close to each other in the same
Yeah, yeah,
Hines.
right,
All in
right.
Hines. Raymond is Hines County.
Yeah.
Learned is Hines County. My mother's born at Terry, Hines County.
Is any one county recognized by everybody as the absolute worst of the down south? That had to be.
No, I don't think so. I think
you don't have the worst county.
You would
ever
think
in
that
the
Hines
history of the
County would be
bologna.
that would be considered better because it had an urban center in it.
Oh,
Jackson was
okay,
Mississippi's
interesting.
only urban center when I was growing up.
Okay.
But then you had the Gulf Coast with Biloxi and Gulfport,
Yeah.
military bases and whatever. So they were more liberal in their thinking. Also, they had been the French territories.
Liberal was what in those times? That was liberal.
Yeah,
was
you're right.
Anti.
Probably
you know,
the
it's
length
hard-
of the rope. The length of the rope. It
Yeah,
wasn't
but
as
now
long.
cut it out, girl. That's not
It wasn't
liberal.
long.
You know, no. What?
But these
You're
they
talking
had
about many
exposure
schools.
to
Yeah.
a broader world
Uh,
because the military bases were located in these areas.
Well, okay, yeah.
And it's on the Gulf Coast. This had
Yeah.
been the French sector because most people don't talk about the difference between French slavery and English slavery.
Gosh, yes, I hadn't even.
I'm
hardly
in
thought-
English slave
What
territory.
is the worst, English or French?
Oh my God,
slavery?
English worth anything ever hit planet Earth.
They were the worst.
Oh,
English?
sick. Yeah, the English. This is
The English.
the English are the worst. Oh my
My
God.
name is Channer.
Oh please.
Yes.
Well, welcome to your folk. My last name is Liddell from them Scots, but they
yeah.
still were bad.
Well, okay. Let's make a revolution. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Say, but
Mm.
the French tended to French slavery had what was called the Benville Codes. Benville slave codes.
Man, isn't
The
there a
English,
sort-
the English sector had the black codes.
When are you going to put all this down into a major motion
They are.
picture?
This-
No,
this
you gotta
stuff
get
is-
it
this
into
is,
a motion picture or into the
Well, I don't
media.
know. There are motion pictures. That includes most of the
And
stuff.
have
But
you
the,
got
the
a
way,
lot down-
way in which stuff is divided out, we don't get a chance to see it.
How many times
But if you
have
look at
said-
French
well,
slavery,
Yeah.
remember the African in French slavery, you can own your family. That's one. In British slavery, you own nothing. They're nice enough to let you live with your family until they need to sell
Why
you or
the
something.
difference? Why the difference? Do you
That's
think?
a wide difference where you got somebody that let you have a family.
No, you're describing it. Well, how did it be that they came that way and the other one didn't? Or in general?
Well, the
principle.
difference between
How
the
do you-
French and the British.
Okay.
The French tended to be more, if we want to say humane, slavery is not humane, so it
Yeah,
didn't
right,
really.
right.
They were more liberal in their perspectives than
The
the
French
British.
were
yeah,
than the
than the
British.
British, yes.
The British were.
You could blacks could own a slave. So you'll see us if you go to New Orleans in the
hard
French
to
sector,
understand.
you'll
It's
see
hard
an
to
app. It's
understand.
insane.
Yeah.
In the French sector, you go to say New Orleans or in that area, you'll see black women who have been taken in by some French man. You'll see
Yeah.
them got their own little slave walking around with a little umbrella. And
When are you going to turn this into a major motion picture, girl? Are you getting? Have you got?
there are
any
motion
bids
pictures
out
with this
yet or
included
something?
in it. We just
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
You're doing,
What
you're
a-
making a very important point.
You're such an
And that is
important
everything is
resource.
so it was spread out.
Yeah.
That most folk may have seen the information, but they didn't confine it to a particular area of history.
Yeah.
So we need to confine it.
Okay.
But what we're talking about is well known. I mean, it's nothing now. Most people don't know that the greatest slavery revolts were in New Orleans and in the French sector, not in the English sector. The greatest slavery revolt in New Orleans occurred around
Vote or boat?
revolt.
Revolt.
It
okay,
occurred
right,
around
okay, interesting.
1814, I think, to 1816.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And these Africans, when they revolted, were militaristic. We had some others that had been militaristic early on, but not as large as this. This revolt went on for 2 years. And the only way it got put down was for the United States Army.
The United States Army put it down?
Put it down. It's a
so what does that put the United States Army into this thing about French and British?
Well, remember, this is in the French territory. But
You said
after
the French were worse
after
than the
1803.
English. Or no, the English were worse
After
than the French.
1803.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to think of it, it's not a liberalism here. It's just that the French are more a part of the lifestyle of being in the lives of their slaves. Just like now, you know, remember the colonies in Africa, when the French take over, you become French.
Yeah.
So you go off and you can now become a part
History is strange.
The French are very dangerous. See, the British, by being so ruthless and violent and separated, and we're different, and I'm good and you bad, that means that the Africans are saying, okay,
did what?
We're war. African is saying, you know, I'm struggling against him. The French make it, you know, like a rocking chair. So you remember the French legislators, black French legislators going back deep into that time period, because when the French come in, you're French.
Yeah.
You don't get a chance to be Mali. You don't get a chance to be Senegal. You don't get a chance to be Togo.
Right.
You are
now
French.
I'm picking you up. Okay,
so they come in to capture your mind.
Right. Okay, now you.
So
got me.
you know, so we have to remember that distinction between the Gulf Coast and beyond the Gulf Coast. So I'm in Jackson. I am raised in hostile territory, because that's British territory.
How did you handle it as a young woman? I mean,
hey, I'm good.
You had to put up with all the, you know. It's his. I'll lay a little saying on you that I say often. People hate to hear it all the time, but it's Daedalus, and he said, "History is a nightmare from which we're attempting to awaken."
Yeah.
Do you think we're awakening humanity out of the barbarism that has been part of the slavery?
Every time we try to come out, if you look at the present,
generalize
the war between the war and the Republicans and the Democrats right now is a good way to look at American history. Because you got one which gives this liberal picture, and you got the other one who's becoming more right wing.
Yeah.
Bad.
Right.
But they're two heads of the same damn snake.
Well, okay. Are you up to, let me ask you, I got a need first. How much time is there left? Somebody got it?
15 minutes.
15? Oh, okay.
So what happens is that,
really? Okay.
Harold, is that we live in this time period. We're in Alabama, and we are very fortunate to be able to have these Justice Department people come in early. So we can see the games that are going to be played.
Okay, yeah.
We in Selma, we move out, police move out with us. Wherever we went, the police followed. We don't have a car yet. We're walking. We see these wide sidewalks. They were wide because the women had the
These
wide skirts and stuff.
Hoop
So
skirts,
wide, but black people had to walk out there in that gutter along that street.
with all the guck.
With the dirt. So we're seeing this, but we also go immediately to the chief of police's office, and we notice that as we're going, we're being followed by police. It had, I think, 4 police in town, but 2 of them are following us. So we take them right on to their chief of police.
Right.
So they begin to get smart after a while, especially when we got a car. We just drive right on around and park. And so they begin to figure out, you know, these black folk are not normal.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take us to the police, and we don't have to worry about it.
Excuse me a minute. They're signaling something. What? Tell me just straight out.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay, let's really do it quick. Okay, yeah.
So we're here with them, and
thank
we'll
you.
begin. There is no Jim Clark. What we have is Chief Mullen. And then when Reverend Louis Lord Anderson, once he started working with us, that lawsuit that was filed was remanded back to the state. You
Okay,
remember, it was
yeah,
filed
yeah.
in 1959. So he was all right.
Mhm.
But now he's gotten involved with these young people.
Are you talking now current now?
I'm talking 1963.
Okay, you're still back in the
I'm not going to come out of 63
You're not going to come
because
out.
we're in history.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, well, okay.
And so Louis Lord Anderson now has to face the court again, the remanded, which means he's back up against now facing cold-blooded murder.
Mhm.
That's what they had charged him with.
Mhm.
He's facing a possible death sentence, but surely a life sentence.
How
So
do you-
what we did was organize mass meetings
Yeah, okay, yeah.
so
yeah.
that his story can be told and people can see him.
Mm.
And as the heavens would have it, the day of the first mass meeting, after the FBI who came to our house in the morning quite regularly, they'd be there at 7 o'clock.
Good God.
Pretend they
knock
just
on
want
the door. Yeah.
And knock on the door, just want to
Yeah.
say hello,
Yeah.
Then the brother from the jail came over, and that's how we found out about Jim Clark.
Yeah.
He came over looking for information, the black brother.
Yeah.
And we had the policy: you got to bring some to get some.
Uh-huh.
So we got the information what Jim Clark was up
Yeah.
to, and we knew that he'd gotten these deputy have all these 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
That he had these 12, I think it was 12-inch sticks, 12 to 18 sticks
Yeah.
that they were cutting from over at the
Sticks that,
factory.
Like you could hit somebody
Yes,
with?
yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna beat us if we had this mass meeting, right?
We've only, listen, one
So,
of the problems, go ahead.
And at this moment,
Mm.
Mrs. Boynton comes. Mr. Boynton had a stroke a couple
Oh.
of years before we got there and had
We-
been, as a result of this massive stroke, dying actually
Uh-huh.
at the little black hospital there at Selma. So she comes to let us know. And it was just such a moment. I just think this is really great moments because the greatest moments in my life has always been the slow driving rain.
They should be listening. And one of the problems with you is you got to slow down, girl. You're too interesting. I could listen to you for hours and hours and hours and hours.
Well, likewise,
and so
Harold.
forth, but we can't do it because you know what? We've run out of time.
Oh,
Pain
we're
in the
out.
neck. I mean, we just barely got started and everything. But thank you for such an interesting.
I have enjoyed every
summary
moment,
of
Harold.
things like that to give somewhat of a picture that has to be better understood, and particularly how it fits into the challenges of the modern time. And you are absolutely a wondrous thing. This woman should be put on a pedestal somewhere and
No,
protected.
that would get shot.
Protected carefully so that her memories and her thoughts are cannot be lost. And I'm sorry we had to run out of time. I want to hang.
Well,
that
Harold, the
you
young
are a
people,
ge- you
young
are a
people
gentle
themselves are
lady.
telling their own story now.
Yeah, you.
New York, this is a powerful man.
Well, I wouldn't
Done
say
some
that.
powerful work, and don't let him get away. Don't let him get away.
What do you mean? I want to get away with it. I want to get away with a lot of things. I know I want to get away. So you lock me up and I can't get out.
He's got a beautiful wife over
yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
let him get away.
You haven't seen.
Don't
the
let
cat.
her get away.
You haven't seen the cat and the dog yet. Yeah, you're gonna see that.
You got new cats and new
We
dogs?
got a dog, the best cat in the world.
You got a new cat?
No, we got the old cat.
I know the
just
cat.
She's getting better with
cat
every
knows
year.
me.
She's getting better with every year. Thank you, audience, for watching. Your pleasure to have one of the best people on this planet is Coley Clark. Thank you for coming in with such an enlightening
Yeah, it's always
story
my
to tell.
pleasure.
You
Always.
you are a national treasure. This woman should be protected by all kinds of police or whatever it takes.
No,
to protect-
please don't.
No, not police. Wrong. Sorry, I made a.
I already got the FBI and the police. I don't
Okay,
F the
listen,
CIA. I don't need any more.
You're my friend. Listen, you're covered. And I got
Okay,
some guys
thank
who
you,
will make
Harold.
sure you're covered.
Now I
okay?
feel safe.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for doing. We'll be coming back again tomorrow. So that.